for Remembering the Flats, Reclaiming Our Future is about to begin. We have a very good crowd.
All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Desmond's just about ready to talk.
It's lunchtime, I guess. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out here today to this first in what we hope to be a series of meetings that deals with the history of the flats. I'm really humble. I am a chemistry professor at Andrews, okay? So I don't know what I'm doing here. So I know that all of the information, all of the knowledge, all of the inspiration lies right here with this group of individuals here. So I hope that we have a very good and productive discussion. And this is a way of kicking off our history, trying to revive and remember the history of what I think is an important era in Benton Harbor community. If you turn to your agenda, we already had, I think most of us had the snacks. And Marty, can you help show everybody how to do that?
I came early, so you have a good selection.
Okay, good. So before we get into the discussion and the conversation formally, I'd like to have a couple of texts of scripture as meditation. And I hope that you would see the link and the connection between these two passages of scripture and what we will be attempting to do here today. The first one comes from Psalms 42:6. It says, "O my God, my soul is cast down within me. Therefore will I remember thee from the land of Jordan and of the Hemonites and from the hill Mizar." The second text comes from Psalms 103, verse 14. It says, "For he knoweth our frame, he remembereth that we are dust." I think the very first part of the text, Psalms 42:6, tells us here that for people who sometimes called the blues people, who understand what it is to be on the margins of society, that an antidote for that is to remember. It says here, "My soul is cast down within me. Therefore, as a solution to that, I remember." That's what we're going to try to do here today, as a way to start remembering and to bring back some of the memories, some of the times, to get inspiring stories so that our young people could look up and say, well, people in the flats did this. Despite all of the odds against them, we can do it too. This meeting is not just about information, but also about inspiration, about trying to inspire young people to achieve no matter what situation they are in. And so in the second text it says, "He remembered that we are dust." And this should be a very good consolation to all of us. Because as we all know, the history of flats is basically limited to the book Yesteryear's Memoirs, written by Warren Mitchell. His wife is here with us here today. That's basically the sum of it. There isn't much more about that. So this is a forgotten time, a forgotten people. And so what we want to do here is to be consoled by the fact that he remembers, God remembers. If no one else does, God remembers the flats. God remembers the activities that went on in the flats. He was part and parcel of that. And so this is the basis for us coming together here today, and hopefully this will serve as thoughts for inspiration for us as we get into our discussion. My name again is Desmond Murray. Our able assistant, my partner in crime, Jill Rowe. That's Rao. She's the reference librarian here at the Benton Harbor Public Library. A lot of work, a lot of sweating. She had to calm me down because I was very anxious when people didn't return my calls or told me no. But hey, they're here today. So what we want to do now is introduce some of the persons around that you see with the mics and stuff like that. Also then go into a self-introduction. Everyone is going to say what your name is. Tell us what your association with flats is, whether you live there, worked in the flats area, or what. So, Jill is our reference librarian. Dr. Carter is from the Heritage Society, associated with the Heritage Society. He's going to do our videography today. So you could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, my name is John Carter. I'm a retired physician 3.5 years ago, and I'm on the board at Fort Miami. And I'm interested in history. I'm interested in the history of Benton Harbor, and it's a pleasure to be here. This is going to be fun.
Good.
Everybody be relaxed, and you're going to have a lot of fun.
All right, thank you. Now, Tim Zico, he is executive producer at WKAR TV, and he can tell us a little bit, Mike, what your role is here.
We are here with a camera crew. We are producing a documentary about the Twin Cities, the Warrior Michigan Public Broadcasting this October, actually October 10th. And I grew up in the area. I was born in St. Joe and lived here in the 50s, 60s, and part of the 70s. And the story of the Twin Cities has always been one that's interested me and something that I wanted to cover, to talk about how close the cities were and ultimately things that happened in Benton Harbor that caused the quality of life to dip a bit, and then now initiatives that are starting to come back to help bring the city back and really to return to that level of the Twin Cities that everyone likes to use that term. So in any case, this is a program that, as I mentioned, we will be producing for Michigan Public Broadcasting and Warrior Echo.
Thank you. And your two assistants?
Dick Best is videographer, and Ken Hurley is our lighting director.
Okay, good. We also have covering this story, our favorite. Hi.
I'm Lynn Stevens at your
Okay, I think everybody knows Lynn, right? Does she need any introduction? She wrote the story actually that advertised and publicized this meeting today, so we thank her for that very much. At this point, what we're
Lois Taylor. The only thing I know about the flats, wasn't raised in the flats, is I used to go into the flats as a child and down into the fruit market, and my father and mother had friends in the flats. So I remember that. Matter of fact, I remember when Benton Harbor was in its heyday, where everybody came, instead of going to St. Joe, they came to Benton Harbor.
I'm Dr. Harsville Taylor, and I came here in 28, and first school that I attended was Morton Hill. I finished Benton Harbor High in 39, along with my friends. Other than that, I'm a retired dentist, and I wish I want to know more. I should know everything. From 28 up until now, I think that my memory would afford me to know everything, but I don't. Thank you.
That's why we're here.
My name is Martin Peters, and I've been around here for about 81 years. I remember that area as they had a waterworks down there. In the wintertime, the pond would freeze over and we would skate there. Then later on, they would freeze the fruit market and we'd skate there. I came in contact with this man because I was a center on the football team. And the coach said if you didn't get that ball to the right guy, the play would never be a success. But my problem was that when the play would go to the right, this guy would always go to the left. He was a backfield man. But we finally worked it out, didn't we? Back in those days, you used to have to lead the runner instead of just hanging off like they do nowadays. I remember at one time, St. Joe was our rival every year. And in 38, the coach says, we'll take you out to King's Landing, sodas, and we'll give you a big meal, and we'll put you away to sleep for a while, and rest up for this game. Well, you know what happened? St. Joe beat us 3-0 on a drop kick. I'll pass it on to somebody else.
I'm Marilyn Payne, and my first contact with the Flats was back in the 60s when I was a caseworker with the Social Services Department. Since then, my contacts have been strictly in a historical nature. I was director at the Port Miami Society for 10 years, and I conducted history groups here at the library for several years, and I'm now on the board of directors for the Morton House Museum.
I'm Harold Atwood. I came to Benton Harbor in 1952 to teach at the high school. I taught there from 1952 until 1972. In my retirement years since then, I've taken a lot of interest in local history. And in 1989, the Berry Community Foundation published a brochure of 129 historic sites in Berry County. And I was the main author. And I can remember when US 12 came through the cities, and my home was in Illinois originally, and I would come back to Benton Harbor with US 12 through St. Joe into Benton Harbor, and on West Main Street I would turn right on 12th Street, and I would go past the house of David Warehouse and to Bond Street and turn left, and I would drive up Bond Street to Colfax, where I would turn right on Colfax, and that was the location of the Union Memorial African Methodist Episcopal Church. And I was, in those days, not married, and I was renting a room at 612 Colfax, where I lived for the first 2 years that I was a resident of Benton Harbor. I don't recall having students who lived in the flats, but I expected I did.
I'm Pat Brown Snyder. I was born at Mercy Hospital when it faced Empire. And my dad came here from Iowa to be a dry cleaner. There was a building directly across the street here between the gas company and the city hall, the Enterprise Cleaners. He worked there 15 years and then bought it from Mrs. Seeley and had it from then on. He finally retired in '77. When the building had been purchased by Urban Renewal, then we moved on out to East Main Street. I was raised at Morton Hill, and I taught in Benton Harbor for 14 years. This is my hometown. And going down to the market through the area of the flats was always just part of my travels, because Mother always traded at the retail market. So this is my hometown. This is why I'm interested.
My name is Ethel Mitchell, and my parents migrated to Benton Harbor in 1935, so that in itself, where else would I go except to the flats? I attended the Benton Harbor area schools, and my husband, I was fortunate enough to marry a man that had lots of foresight, and he became the black historian for Benton Harbor, which I have boxes of goodies that after he was deceased, I've got them all packed away. So one day when I'm feeling really good, I'm going to pull it out and let's look through it. Yes.
Grandfather came from Russia and bought a farm down in the old flats area that was all swamp, or swamp back there. He raised cattle back in there. And my father, my grandfather was born in Russia also. He had a farm in Eau Claire. And when I was a youngster, the biggest thrill I had for the summer was to go out to the farm and then come into the market. My father, who was born on Bond Street, on the corner of Bond Street and Colfax, just the one street, one house over, I think. And they had a supermarket right on the edge of the flats, which was on Colfax and Oak Street. And many of the people in the flats used to come there because they walked for the most part. I have lots of memories of the flats as a young person. My dad and my uncles had many rentals down there, so I would go down there with them all the time, and I would see some of the things that I just really have very fond memories of that area. Thank you.
Maternal grandparents, Harris and Dora Whitney lived on the corner of Garfield and Colfax overlooking the AME church. They had a lot of ties to the neighborhood. They practiced law in Benton Harbor, and many, if not most of their clients were minority clients. First the Jewish people who settled there, and then African Americans later. I remember also pictures of the family that my parents were married in the parlor of that house, and we always visited Grandma and the market about the same time. And it was a good place to visit and a good place to be.
I'm Jolita Alley, Whitfield Smith. I remember the Flats area. I went to Union Mile African Methodist Episcopal Church. In fact, that's where I was married in 1958. I remember the fruit market. We would always go there and get our fruit. No one has mentioned the dump. It was about a half a block away from the fruit market. And once in a while my mom would let us go through there and pick up what we thought were, and we didn't live in the flats, we lived on Levette Street. Was that the flats, Mrs. Mitchell? It was part of it also. I'm from a family, I have six brothers and sisters. I'm the seventh child. My father was the assistant pastor at the, I've gotten a senior moment here, at Second Baptist Church under Reverend Wilson. And I guess that's all I'm going to say right now, but it brings back a lot of memories. One more thing, they used to have bars down there, and we always kind of waited to grow up to be able to go there, because my Uncle Bill and another person sitting here used to frequent those, and we thought that was so much fun. But of course, by the time I got big enough, or grown enough to go, they had demised. But I have a lot of pleasant memories. Store right behind the church, but I can't remember what the name of it was. Abe Frank's, and we take our pennies and go there after church. And there was a barber shop right down the street, which was the Sherns, which I'm sure it's going to be talked about later. But there's a lot of pleasant memories about the Flats area.
24 on the corner of 8th Street and Kirby. And off and on for over the next 14 years, I lived in the flats at various. I lived on 9th Street, I lived on Bond Street, I lived on Market Street. And I was often wondering why we moved so often.
Really?
If you remember the years we're talking about, were the years of the Depression. And everybody was going through a tough time. There weren't many jobs available, so everybody was staying with whatever relative that happened to have a house at that usually time. So we moved around quite a bit. But my thoughts and remembrances of the Flats area, I thought it was friendly, it was terrific. I don't remember ever locking my house door.
Yeah.
I had a lot of nice friends. We played baseball together. We did all the things that people do in any other place that we lived.
My name is Esther Shoemaker. I did not live in the flats, but my grandmother did, and had a rooming house there on 8th Street. In concurring with everyone who has spoken before me, we did have pleasant times there. I noticed one of the questions saying, were the people happy? I don't know if they were happy, but they certainly dealt with the things they had been given, and they made the best of it. And I think they provided us with a very good background to be the productive citizens that we are today.
My name is Roy Shoemaker. I was born and lived in the flats the early days of my life. I lived on 9th Street, I lived on Kirby Street, and I also lived on Bond Street. And Bob and I sort of followed each other like on a block. But the people at that time, as we said, were wonderful. We never worried. We had a skeleton key, if anything, for a door, but no one ever locked the doors. We had kerosene lamps. We had pumps outside, outhouses. We did not have bathrooms. I was one of 6, a family of 6. We had a mattress to sleep on the floor. Everyone couldn't be in a bed. But we all learned to be a family entity. Our big thing during that time was to sit around and listen to Gabriel Heer on the radio, Morris B. Passac's Amateur Hour, or Major Bowles. These were the items that we were really intrigued by. I, of course, worked on the Benton Harbor Flea Market. I started clerking there when I was 6 years old. There were no laws at that time. And it started as a joke. I went down and the fellow said, if you could sell these melons, I'll give you 50 cents. I sold a whole semi of melons, he gave me $5, and I was a millionaire. So those things are some of the fond memories that I have of Benton Harbor. And I know that the history there is rich, and a lot of fine people have come from that area.
My name is Willard Ing. I was not born in the flats area. I live in Los Angeles. I'm a consultant with the Khalil Jameson Consulting Group, and we're working on the Council for a World-Class Community. So we're here to find out more about this community. We've been here about 2.5, 3 months, and I've met some wonderful people here, and look forward to speaking with each of you a little later, getting to know you a little better. Thank you for having us.
Drop the windscreen. I'm sorry. Thank you. Hi, I'm Sharon Lewis. I'm also a consultant with the Khalil Jameson Consulting Group, and I'm based in Nashville, Tennessee, originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I should probably note that the Khalil Jameson Consulting Group is based in Troy, New York. And we've worked with other communities around the United States. A couple of those would include the city of San Diego, California, city of Troy, New York, city of Arlington, Virginia. And we also work with many large corporations. Kodak, DuPont, Toyota are some of the clients that we've had or still have, as a matter of fact. And it is our honor and privilege to be here. As Willard said, we were hired by the Council for World-Class Communities, and we're here to listen, and listen, and learn. And again, I thank you for having us.
Hello, my name is Winston Murdoch, and I'm a native of the city of Benton Harbor. My mother and father were brought here by Mr. Morton. It had Grandma Morton Steamship Lines. And I was born in 1923 at Bayless Hospital on Beard and Clay Street. When I was a kid coming up, there wasn't too many black families in the city of Benton Harbor. You could count them on 2 hands. But we did have about 4 rich black ladies that owned a lot of property down in the flats area. We never did call it the flats back then because there was no people down in the flats area.
the Germans, and the Indians, then later on a few Polish. Like that, people started coming into there. Of course, we had Little Italy and a few other places that were segregated from the flats. But the flats was well to do back then, you know, everybody could solve their own problems, you know, but when they got rid of the flats here, it looked like the city went down, you know. And we think back about it, you know, with the conditions that the city's in today, you know. I just can't understand what's wrong with people. Why can't you go back next door where you leave the doors open and all that? And if you were dead thieves, you didn't have to work on find nothing back then. Just breaks my heart, you know. And I think the conditions of the city tonight. Well, that's all I can tell you from the time that I recovered from the feelings. Thank you.
That's all right.
Hello, I'm Wayne Hopkins. I'm a native of Benton Harbor. My folks moved here when I was 6 years old. I grew up in the flats. We lived on 9th Street and we lived on 8th Street. I don't think I could have gotten any closer to the flats than where we were because we lived right across the street from the Research Club. So that was as close as you could get without being in the club itself.
What kind of research was going on there?
I don't know, but the kids used to sit out at night and watch the drums come out.
Okay.
But one thing about it, my parents never worried about us kids. We didn't have to, as different ones have said, we never locked the doors. We could play outside late at night. There was never any problem. We got along down there. We had a lot of extra things to do. There was a park on Britain that we used to go to. We had supervisors that people would come around and gather up all of us little kids and take us down to the park. We were right across the street from the city market, the fruit market. The older boys would go over to the market, and I don't know how they would get the watermelons, but they usually bring back fruit for us to eat. And then some of the boys would go down to, farther down 9th Street was a celery farm. I never liked celery or rhubarb, but the kids would go down there and they would swipe that and bring it back, so we'd have a grand time there at the park. They also had tournaments down there, and I was one of the champion jack players. I don't know how I did it, but anyway, all the different the games that we would play. And there was a lot of high jumps too. I used to jump until I hit my toe one day, and that was the end of my high jump. But anyway, we lived all over Benton Harbor. We lived in the flats, as I said, from 36 until 45. My folks moved out. Then I dropped out of school in 47. One of the reasons why I dropped out, I was the oldest of 9 kids, of course, and I had to take care of the little ones. So my husband, I met him, he was just discharged from service, so we got married. Then I moved out east. But the funny thing about it, I got married on Colfax, down in the flats. Seemed as though my whole life has been surrounded by the flats. Because later years, I retired from Social Security, and our office was in the flats, which still is in the flats right now. As I said, I dropped out of junior high at that time. We had Central and junior high. I dropped out in the 9th grade. Well, I went back to school in 1970 while working at Simplicity Pattern Company in Niles, driving from Benton Harbor to Niles. I went back to night school. I took regular classes every night, had a family at home. I didn't stop school until I graduated from Western Michigan. Was accepted in grad school, but my work assignment, I had to drop that because work at Social Security was quite strenuous and I couldn't continue with grad school. One thing that I had remember about the flats is the fact that we kids had a lot of fun down there. There was a lot to do. There was a lot of families, different white families, Jewish families that we commingled with, and there was never any problems. At school, we never had any problem there. At least I didn't. Also, my dad worked for our specialist, and also for a family named Worth Bean. He was their chauffeur. So we had a lot of help from that family. Also, later years, the Beans built a home for my dad out on the street now. It's called McCain. It's off of Ogden. So we lived out there for 2 or 3 years, and then after that, I got married and ended up living where I am now on the south side. Now that was one side of town that when I was in the flats, the kids used to come down there from the south side, you know, and they were the kind of upper crust kids, we were the flats kids. And I was told that, you know, you'll never be anything. But they were wrong, because a lot of us that came out of the flats have had good positions, not only professional positions, but good employment and records. So that's about all I can say, but I just wanted to say that going back to school was something that always I wanted to do, but really I didn't want to do. But to get my diploma from the Benton Harbor High School, you know, I used to see the kids up there, and it was just something great. And when I got my degree from Western Michigan University, that was the ultimate. So that's all I got to say.
Look by 9th Street in the flats. I don't mind telling you 1939, because it's a joy. You know what I mean? So I have very fond memories of the flats, because that's all I knew when I was growing up. And like I heard people mention different places, different situations about the dump. When I shared with my children, I said that was our playground. And when I think of Bill Cosby, we used to do the kids, they used to go to the dump and find good stuff, as you say. And I remember a situation with my brother. My mother had threw away a toy. And my brother went back down the dump and found the toy from the, and she said, I thought I threw this stuff away. But I come from a large family. I have very fond memories of the flats. Our church home was at Pilgrim, so that was about 3 or 4 miles. But we went to Sunday school into church at we call it Methodist Church or Second Baptist, whichever we preferred that day, you know. A lot of our associated with the Methodist Church, although we were Baptists, because we were just neighbors. And I remember Magnolia, she used to pick us up, you know, and we were just, it was more family oriented. And it says here on this question, it wasn't flat safe. I don't know how clean it was, but it was certainly safe. I was telling my daughter, I remember times when I would get out of junior high in the wintertime. I want to go downtown. I walked down Pipestone, and I was very safe. I was safe even walking through what we call the flats area where the bars were. Because we like to walk through just to look, you know. And but I was really safe. As a matter of fact, I felt more safe when I'd be downtown by myself. When I got to Colfax, right where the light was on the line, I was safe. I had no fears. I could walk right home safely. And that's what I remember about that, because we were people, you know, everybody knew you. And you just felt at home. You felt, a close community there. So like I said, I have a lot of really fond memories of it. I had the Lord bless me have dreams about it. I dreamed about a store on Oak Street, and that was when I was a kid. You know, that store was on Oak Street, I don't know. And I thought, oh wow, why did I dream about that? But like I said, I have a lot of fond memories about growing up in the, as we say, the flats. And someone mentioned too how the kids lived out east. You know, they said, "Are you from the flats?" And he said, you know. But now I say it with pride. Yes, I was reared in the flats, 605 9th Street.
Dallas Hall.
The bar, in the flats. And our thing was to get over my old man hollering with that little dog walk down. If I said, take that money, y'all know what I'm talking about.
I think my biggest thing I remember is that when I got enough money to buy the Liberty Theater from the Butterfields, and what I did, I threw him out of my theater like he used to throw. Anybody want to say us in here? Out of the Liberty Theater. I think the Flats gave me a whole lot of you could eat, you could go where you want. If you got managed, everybody was your mama, everybody was your daddy. And the trouble is now we got too much and we can't settle no kid. A kid would not call a grown person Jack. Did that man name, what's his name? I remember his dad gave him to me one day working the desk. That was a job. He was smart as it was. But I'd come out of town and talk about locks. We didn't know what locks were. That hook. All you do is stick your finger through the screen and open the hook and walk. And we lived right across the street in front of the bar, and we used to wake up on Saturday morning, and the front room be full of people been drunk all night. They just come on in and sit down. They wouldn't bother nothing. You didn't have to worry about nobody stealing nothing. And you better not get caught stealing nothing. So I just come down and I was a contractor. I've been my thing, but I've had good memories. Then I've been good to Ellis. I said that when I was inducted in the Hall of Fame. I've been around a lot of jobs. A lot of people know. I believe if you want something, you can go get it. If you don't want nothing, you won't go get it. And you won't want nothing, then you ain't got nothing. People, you give your kids shoes cost $175, they ain't want nothing. Throw them away. Anybody here? That's been good memory for me. A lot of folks been good for me, so I said
Good morning. My name is Sammy Smith, and my parents, and the one as mentioned, the Church God Christ in Bird. And that's where we played baseball. And it was nothing but some dirt. You go home, you be back as cold when you got home. And the first thing your mom hollered, go take a bath, boy. You know, we didn't want to do that. But the young man wanted to know what kind of research was being done in the research club. The research club. No, really, no. Chemistry? No. The research club was made up of elderly black men. Yes. And they provided all kind of recreation for us kids. They sponsored our baseball team, they sponsored our basketball team, and they kept us off the street. Now, the research club, that's kind of what they were doing. They were involved with black kids. And I had a lot of fun in research. I joined it when I got old enough. But we did some things, you know, down there. But we took care of business.
Took care of business,
yes.
too.
But I remember a lot of things about Benton Harbor and the Flats area down there. And, you know, all the memories are fond and good memories. Because like everyone was saying that you didn't have to lock your door or anything like that. And you didn't have to worry about a kid cussing you out, you know. Because if you did, you got a whipping there. You got another one when you got home. And if daddy wasn't there, you got another one. But like Reverend Hill said, everybody raised everybody's kids to a village, and they did it. And you respected everyone. But I don't know, talk about the history of the flat. I don't think anyone here can really tell the whole history of the flats. Because there are some parts of the flats I won't mention that I know about. And Dr. Taylor probably won't mention either. He knows about it. But you know, that one gentleman down there, Charlie Howard, I think we all knew Charlie Howard. But Charlie Howard was a very prominent black man. Yeah. But there were some things he did, like loan the city money to build them out. But all of this stuff is, you know, in the records. Nobody knew about it. Nobody talked about it. But I have a lot of fond memories of the flat and of Benton Harbor itself. Thank you.
Hello, Open Methodist Episcopal Church was founded in St. Joe in 1868. My family was one of the founders of that church, along with Elaine Shoemaker's relative, Stephen Busby, founded AME Church. And it flourished very, very well for a number of years because there was a good community of black people that lived in St. Joe at that time, along with my family. Well, after many of the young people moved away, the church could no longer function, and it was decided that they would go and join the church in Benton Harbor. Thus, the name Union Memorial came to be, because it was united with the St. Joseph AME Church. Now, my family, they were devoted members of the church, and have mercy, and moved to Benton Harbor. We had no other choice but to walk. So we walked from St. Joe to Benton Harbor to be in church on Sunday morning. Yes, I'm from Wayne Street, guys. Eventually, there was bus transportation, and we would get off at the corner of Main and Colfax and walk up Colfax all the way to the church, which is located on the corner of Colfax and Vine. Now, one of the pleasant things I remember about walking, and some of you may not think that was much fun, but it wasn't bad at that time. We knew everybody as we walked up Colfax. Hello, Mrs. So-and-so, and people, the church was the lighthouse of the community. Everyone lived around the church. So usually by the time we got to the church, it was like a parade. That church was located there until urban renewal, I think it was around 1960. And I played the organ and piano there, and have so many beautiful memories of the people who attended that church. The people who lived in that area were very close to me. In fact, there's one that's so close to me, I'm married. Now, I told you 3 reasons. The third reason I'm very familiar with the Flats is Joe lived there. So, in order for us to get together, either he had to walk to St. Joe or I had to walk to Benton Harbor. And many times, whatever socializing we did was making eyes at church or or after church. And there were a lot of youth activities too at that time. Then as we got older, I couldn't wait until he could take me to the bar, one of those bars. That would be it. But he never really, we were never really participated that much. There were other things that we found that were equally enjoyable. But as a result of that relationship with all the people that I knew that were members of the Flats, that lived in the Flats, and his family, who had been a long time resident of that area, I cannot think of anything that gives me more pleasure in going back, reflecting on the good old days than the Flats days.
I don't know which one of these it goes on. It's taught, which one?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Joseph A. Sherm. I came to Benton Harbor in 1934. I know I came from the South, but I don't know where. I was too young to know about that. And so all I know is Benton Harbor. It's very rewarding and a reunion for me to see all these people from Benton Harbor. I was raised with the majority of them. And I also wanted you to know that one of the reasons I used the word doctor, because I wanted to display the commitment, the dedication, and the sincerity of the people who live in Benton Harbor, in the Flats. Now, I know that there were a number of people talking about the people of the Flats, but I remember the water at the waterworks, the ice skating, and I haven't thought about that. I remember there was a gentleman by the name of Bill Sebo. He was about the ice skating black person that I knew. And he would go down to the waterworks ice rink or the market, whichever, and he would jump barrels. And I tried to do that as well, and I missed. And I broke one of my front teeth. And at that time, My neighbor, Dr. Taylor, had gone to Howard University and graduated and come back, and I told him I needed my teeth fixed. And I don't know how much experience that he had, but you can see it's still there. But I had my first experience in the school system arena back when I started at Calvin Britton. I went to Calvin Britton. I went to the junior high school on Broadway. I went to Central School, which very few people might know about, and from there to the high school. I graduated in 1948. I did my little stitch in the military, and I came back, and I entered Ferris State University. At that time, it was called Ferris Institute. I went from there to Weston, from Weston to Michigan State, and a doctorate degree from Wayne State University. Now, the reason I did that is because I was still trying to milk my GI Bill. And if it had not been for my GI Bill, I would not have been able to delve that far in the education arena. The other thing I think it's important for me to say is my mother was the first black female licensed barber in the state of Michigan. And she cut hair from Colfax to downtown, other part of Colfax. And excuse me. Then she, once got her license, she decided that she was going to try to extend the profession into the family, so she started training my brother as well as my dad. But I never could catch on to the hack of cutting hair. So I decided that I would do something different. So coming from college, I went to the Bendix department, and I worked as a metallurgist, which is very few areas of profession for blacks at that time, because my father had spent all of his years in auto specialties. And I thought that was interesting because back in those times, what happened was a person that had children would take the kids to the industry, and they would help them prepare the molds and separate the sand and put it into the mold. So then when my father would go back to work the next morning, he would pour the iron. And I thought that was a very interesting endeavor as related to metal. So I became a metallurgist, and I stayed in that for a while, and then all of a sudden I had a friend to get on the Benton Harbor Area School Board, Dr. Harsdale Taylor. And he said, Joe, he says, you know, you might be able to teach in the school system. I said, really? So finally I made the application for that, and then I did get employed in the school system. So consequently I had to go back and get a teaching certificate, which I did. And I stayed in the Benton Harbor Area School until I retired in 1990. And I had been a teacher, personnel director, and superintendent. And all of those experiences I have so enjoyed. Now, I say all of this because I think really when you look at the flats, you can think very seriously about how the people of those times dedicated themselves into raising their children. And I look at Mr. Ravage over here because that was the first job. Now, he didn't mention this, but I used to clean chickens at his father's store. And Mr. Ravage was the kind of person, he carried the names of all of the black folks on their books and charged groceries and all these kinds of things. And I remember one time, this is his father, I remember one time I went down to pick up some things for my parents, and I decided to put a candy bar. I didn't think anybody would recognize it, but I put a candy bar on the charge account, and I think about that time it was either 3 cents or a nickel. But I wanted to let you know, Mrs. Shern picked that up, and she called her father, his name was Sam, and he told her, he said, well, Joe, charge him. Of course, then I got disciplined for that. But there are probably a number of thoughts and events and ideas that will come to me as we proceed through some of these meetings. But I simply thank the Lord that I was a flats person. Thank you.
Queens. I came to Benton Harbor in 1937, and I went through the school system, first with Morton Hill, and after I graduated from Columbus, I went to Bard School, from Bard School to high school. Now, Benton Harbor has been pretty good to me because my mother was, she kind of raised me alone, and I had to get out and do work when I was out of school. My first job was with Al Sebo, if you just mentioned, and he was kind of a cook or something on the boat docks down there at the Robinson Marina at that time in 1940, 41. They were making submarine chasers, and my job was to go out with him and help him in the kitchen on the submarine chasers. One day we went up by South Haven and it came a big storm. And I got sick that day on the way back. So I told him, I says, I'm not working no more. So I quit that job. After graduating from high school, I went to work for Clark Equipment. And from Clark Equipment, I worked for the city of Benton Harbor as a firefighter. And I retired from there in 1982 with a lieutenant's rank. I don't remember a whole lot about the flats during school, but after school I had a chance to visit myself, and everything you hear about it and more is true. And I love the flats, and I didn't live down there, but I was down there every other day or so. I wasn't allowed in the flats until after I graduated. After I graduated, it was just a home to me. So, like I said, Benton Harbor has been a good place for myself and my family that I had after I got grown. Thank you.
I was born in class in 1947. I went to Calvin School from there to Benton Harbor Junior High. The lot was vacant. From there to Benton Harbor High School. And I tell my grandkids that I went to Calvin British School. They don't believe they think I'm a dinosaur. You know, you couldn't look to Calvin School. I had 5 years in the class. I'm proud to say that I'm from the class. And I don't have a lot to say because, you know, after hearing all these older stories, you know, I just really say I'm glad to say I'm proud to be from the last time.
Hello. My name is Ernestine Johnson Stokes. I was born in Benton Harbor in 1934, and I have very awful fond memories of Benton Harbor. Flats, I guess they may say. First, I like to say that, you know, my parents came to Benton Harbor in between 1928 and 29. I'm about the third oldest of 11 children living, and all of my mother's children were born on 9th Street. At the time, up until 44, all of the children were born at home. Also about the flats, I like to say that everyone, like I said, it was sort of like a close, especially in our neighborhood, because I always said that our neighborhood was really from Britton Avenue all the way down to the celery farm. And believe it or not, I tell people that, you know, I'm the oldest of my sisters and brothers, and so a lot of people that came in the flat areas after I got married, I didn't know. And from Britton Avenue down to where the celery farm is, sometimes that's the only place that we, you know, we socialized with, you know. I also remember when they built the water tank there at the corner of Britton and 8th Street. And one of my sisters here, she mentioned about going to church. Although we were members of Pilgrim Rest, we used to walk from our home on 9th Street out to Pilgrim Rest. And for the times when we couldn't go to Pilgrim Rest, we naturally would go to either the AME Church, Second Baptist, and also I remember from the Church of God in Christ community, it was down there by the tank. And when I look around here, I look at some of the members, some of the people that really lived on the same street that our folks, Roy Shoemaker, Dr. Taylor was friends with my family. Joe Shern's father cut my dad's hair. That's where sometimes my dad would go up to the Sherns and he would cut my father's hair in the evening time. Also, I remember about, like I said, I graduated from Benton Harbor High School, and where our house was located, I think about that now, and I said, boy, the property value that our home had. Because where my house was, like one of my sisters said, it's 605 9th Street. Our house was the first house that we could see. I could stand on my front porch and I could see the Catholic Church in St. Joe. I could look in another distance and I could see when the bridge would, when they opened up the bridge. Also at the time when I was younger, I remember when the trains were very fluent in the Twin City areas. I could look out the front door and I could see when I guess it was the Pure Marquette or one of the trains, but we could very easily see the trains coming through St. Joe, and I guess going to Niles or someplace. But at night I could see that very easily. Also I'm really talking about my neighborhood. I can remember at the 4th of July, a lot of people would come down to my parents' house and park all up and down 9th Street. If you couldn't get in Filsterville, sometimes they'd come down to our folks' house and sit on the front porch to watch the fireworks on the 4th of July, because you could see them very easily then. Also, after I graduated from high school, the nights that if I didn't go to football games, I could so easily hear when the band would start playing the marching song. And as of now, it gives me, I know I get goose pimples when I hear the Benton Harbor, marching song. We can even now see from our house, the different, we can just see the football players out there playing. Like I said, I have so many fond memories of Benton Harbor until even I share them with my children. As a matter of fact, I really don't never call Calvin Britton. Calvin Britton to me is still Britton Hill. And I think about Britton Hill, I was telling one of my grandsons, I said kids that had a sled and went down Britton Hill, that was really tops. I mean, you could hit Britton Hill and you'd be all the way down past where River Terrace is now. With a sled, the boys would get on their sled and go down and they would really go. Also, I think about how I think someone mentioned about the celery farm, well, we lived not too far. As a matter of fact, I could look out my door out the front and there was a celery farm where sometimes we'd go down there and just get, swipe celery farm. I mean, they'd get the rhubarb and salt. That's what we'd have. Because they'd go down to Mr. McDonald's farm and get all the rhubarb. Also, I'd like to say it was during the war, and I guess some of the ones that's been here all the time, they remember when during the war that everyone practically in Benton Harbor had a garden, and I guess it's in the area where the bank is now. Yeah, and some of the other things is built there. But all you had to do was go down to the city and they'd issue a plot of land down there and you'd have your garden, Like I said, so many different wonderful memories that I have about Benton Harbor Hill. I could just, at least even when my sisters and I, we come from Ann Arbor. When my sister comes from Ann Arbor, that's when we spend our evenings doing reminiscing about Benton Harbor. Oh, I guess one thing else I had. And also down near the flats, I never, when we were kids, we used to have pig berries. And until I got to be a teenager, I didn't know what it was like to pay someone to go pick berries. All we had to do was go stand on the corner, and all the farmers, from Colfax all the way down, you could just see the trucks would be lined up. Truck after truck after truck. And all you had to do was get up in the morning, go down on the corner, and some farmer would pick you up to take you to pick berries.
My name is Bert Pearson. Probably some of you might know we've been in the construction business since 1918 when my dad moved from Stevensville to Benton Harbor, opened up on the second floor of 9th and Main. And sometime in the middle 20s, he moved over to 312 9th Street, built a new brick building on leased property from the Pennsylvania Railroad on a 99-year lease. And right back on 8th Street was the Carnegie Bar. And people always would locate either one of us to find out where they were at Benton Harbor. But, over the years, we've watched, and I grew up, I was born in 23, so started coming down to the office with my dad around 1930 or 31. Knew all the areas around there that identified, but we didn't call it the flats. Just another part of Benton Harbor. And at that time, Benton Harbor was the place to live. And people came back from school, they moved to Benton Harbor. My brother Forrest came back from Ann Arbor, moved to Benton Harbor. The company prospered, and we moved over to 240 West Britain. building, two-story building, which was the first new commercial building in that area. We were on the edge. It was all dirt. In fact, it was a dirt road when we built it. Ripon Avenue was a dirt road. And the Gray family had donated the park next to our office a year before for city park. Anyway, the Pastrick family, Pastrick predecessor, bought the property, and we never thought it would be a commercial property. Built a Chevrolet garage. And prior to that, adjacent to that, were the container company. It used to be what they call Tin City. Those are all metal buildings that were housing farm workers in the summertime. They'd only be occupied between June and August or September. Some of the other items I remember is the fact that the fruit market used to tie up traffic. You couldn't get through until that market was closed. Another experience we had was watching the parade on Main Street. I remember there was always a truck over there someplace in the neighborhood.
Continuing right through this afternoon.
Yes, thank you.
My name is Geraldine Knox. I didn't live in the flats with my grandmother. I remember the flats as a place where the people, the families, were very close-knit. They were very helpful and compassionate people. I remember my grandfather used to take us, meaning me and my sister and brother, he used to take us to the open market every Saturday morning. And you could smell the melons and the strawberries for miles. And it was a happy time. I remember a lot of the people. I see some of them here that I remember their faces. Some of their names I might have forgotten. But I do recognize a lot that I do remember. And I thank you all for coming back to help remember a happy place and a happy time. I do think that the neighborhood was a dwelling place for people that were hardworking people. They were happy, they had families, and they wanted to pass that, I can say, a legacy onto their children and their grandchildren. My grandmother's house was located into the entrance as you go into River Terrace. That's where her house was located, where she lived at that time. Thank you all for coming and make out this.
I'm Barbara Page. I've been through here many, many times because we have relatives in the suburbs of Chicago, and also the rest of the family up near Grand Haven, Mosquito. I'm told that my first trip was, I don't remember, I was in a Model T, and I had an ice cream cone. I think I was 6 months old. So we went back and forth through here. Then the first time I was here for any length of time, I sat in the lobby of the Vincent Hotel and watched my husband go across the street up to see Elvin football. And I sat there and watched until the two of them crossed the street again and went out for lunch. I was hungry too, but I was supposed to stay there. Now, my husband, I was told the other day, his fault is the Benton Harbor schools having such a problem. And they thought the consolidation was a really dumb idea. We thought it was great. We passed the money projects by contacting everyone. With the consolidation, we have Fairplain divided in 4 parts and went door to door. If they were opposed, We just let them be. If they showed any interest, we had telephone calls back three times on election day to make sure they got to school. We could see that tuition students becoming part of the school district would be disastrous. I do ask people that would complain about it, what they were doing when we were preparing to pass that legislation because of the state. I'm delighted to see people here I recognize and names that I recognize, like the cameraman in the plaid shirt. I didn't know he could do that too. But I am appalled really, where is everyone else? Why aren't they all here? I expected it would be full. I used to live on Parker and then out on Colfax. And I can remember I wouldn't go downtown Benton Harbor without my hat and gloves. And my hair's not stirred right now. It's still a little wet. But I would, and then when we formed one of the problems with that was the third one, when you got two children, you had two hands. The third one, I needed a leash collar. I was one of the women that, about 15, that Nancy Clark got together and formed
25 people have registered
and she
on the
told me
sheet.
that first meeting, I want you to get everything, every word. She shouldn't make statements like that unless she means it. At the next meeting, the minutes took longer than the meeting. But I also remember the kids in school. Some of you might remember Les Jr., he's senior engineer down at Plant 7, Whirlpool. And Ann is an MD, anesthesiologist in Kalamazoo. She was valedictorian at this high school. And David played all sports. He also sang. He was a Kiss Me Kate, and he gave up after one or two tryouts, and Virginia Archer sent the school nurse out to our house to get him and bring him back down, and he came back, and he had to part. It's because I think he was a quick learner. He was strong and could cart that gal around over his shoulder, and that was a fun thing to watch. And now my husband's retired, I try to get what's called Dwayne to take him back. Oh, just a few days a week.
Again, probably past the time that you wanted to stay here. What I think we could do, I've spoken with Jill, Ms. Ralph, and this sheet with the questions, what I think we could do is have you do some homework. I'm a teacher, so we can start writing down some of the answers to this here, and then what I'd like to do is introduce our chair for the Flats History Committee, and that's Ms. Hopkins. And Ms. Hopkins, myself, and Jill will try to get some of you involved in this Flats Committee, and then we could figure out from here what do we do next. I think one of the things that we could do next is work on this and then decide on a time that we could come back, because there's a whole lot of stuff in here. Okay? I know the videographers would like to do individual interviews. You're going to give them a break? Okay. 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 All right.
I tried to draw the flag. And I got Cole, and I got Butler's cabin, I got Wendy's and James Jenkins' cabin, and I got club, what are these called? Research.
Pleasure.
Yeah, but it was back in the back.
You know what American Easter?
Yeah, that's when y'all was born. Y'all was the week ago.
In a tuxedo bar,
Huh?
tuxedo.
Tuxedo, yes. And then
That was Butler.
Butler was next to the alley. He dropped in.
The resident Butler played over there.
Yeah. But what I mean, there's something I can put these, we got this big map, and this big map don't, but right here, I know I used to get the iron from one place and carry across the street and sell it to the other guy.
Here's one activity that we can do. Here's one activity we could do that would be useful, is to give us an idea of where exactly the flats was. If you could take a pencil or a pen, we have some markers, and then just, right, that's what everybody's going to, from your recollection, just circle the area as far as you know that you think was flats.
I just want I remember in the Flats area, and I will mention them, and then others may want to elaborate on those later. But there was Abe Frank's grocery store, Birch's grocery store, Emerson Restaurant, Trent's Barbecue, Exo Fish Shack, Dakin's Eggs, Shern's Barber Shop, Saks Scrap Metal, Ravage Grocery Store, Cohen Scrap Yard, Greasy Pie Shop, Spellman Vinegar Company, House of David Cold Storage, Benton Harbor Fruit Market, Benton Harbor Water Works, McDermott's Celery Farm, Market View Restaurant, Clyde Rogers Restaurant, Nunley Barbecue, Wendy's Pool Hall, Charles Holland Research Club, Ralph Carnegie Glass Bar, Do Some Auto Repair, Bag Factory, 2 Basket Factories, Wilshire's Food Trucking, Sims Barber Shop, Allen's Rooming House, Lee and Katie Wholesale, DX Gas Station on the corner of Colfax and 8th Street, Sinclair Gas Station where the present Senior Citizens Group is, Feathers Junkyard, I know some of you will remember Feathers, Wolf's Welding, Mr. Kuntz Brokers Fruit, they lived at the corner of Britain, and there was also Bailiff Barber Shop. So these, Dakin's, yes. So those are some of the names that I can vividly remember, and these may be things that others want to elaborate on. And the News Palladium, of course, was down also in the Flats area.
The Lake Street Synagogue was there too.
Lake Street Synagogue, right, and Big Four. And incidentally, there was also a railroad bridge that went across the river and used to turn, and we, when I say we, else will remember, we used to go down there and swim, excuse the expression, in the nude. And my mother caught Alice, Paul, myself, and several others, and we were whipped from the lake down there at home. So we have never forgotten. It was called Burnt Boat. And they had a beer down at the waterworks. So we found out at that time that anything you did wrong, you paid the penalty for. And when I say paid the penalty, these were these little switches soaked in water. So when you got home, they didn't break. They wore them out on you, but you didn't do it too often.
My dad was a rich man.
Right.
We told
Okay, one of the things that we noticed from our list is that some of you did not write your name on
Grocery store, Colfax,
Got Whole Street, it's called Market Street now, it used to be Lake Street. Charlie Holland's Research Burger Club originally was the Jewish Synagogue. And they left there and go up on the hill on Lake Street. Everything above the flats area they used to call Michigan Bluff. Everything below Michigan Bluff was called the flats area. Also, you had Mr. Fruit Candies, you know, down there on 9th Street, on not too far from the Benton Harbor Fruit Market. I remember Dr. Taylor's father was a fruit broker. He used to bring a lot of fruit into the fruit market. I remember Dr. Taylor's two sisters, and his brother's wife. He had a brother named Landis. He had a sister named Laura Mary. They finally left that harbor, so I don't know where he went to. Also, the Gorns used to live down there. We had certain businesses in Dewson. Bob Dewson had the first automobile car wash down there in the flat. They washed the college cars. Had apartments upstairs over the car wash. And also, Williams had the first taxi company in the city of Benton Harbor. And they operated the first trade system when they used to deliver the mail. Mail then was delivered 3 times a day with 2-cent postage stamp. The old Benton Harbor post office used to be down there where the Salvation Army used to have the fever ranch, you know.
We want to now, is try to figure out the next meeting. We're going to start working on the next meeting. First of all, this is our chair.
So anyway, I'll cut it off now and bring up more at the next meeting.
That's right, that's right. We have a lot more to talk about.
Okay.
A whole lot more.
I thank everybody here. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Come and sit down.
Anybody like to be on? Oh, she didn't hear me? Oh, is there anyone that would like to be on the committee to help us plan whatever we, what we wanted to
initially set up? Why were people there? The breakup of the flats. These questions are nice, but I think we remember them. But if we are going to give our children and those who come after us an education as to its being, let's be more specific and not superficial.
Today we the third Thursday, we have a suggestion. And maybe even
asked for photos.
Erect one of them or designate one of them as a historic site. You know? So if we can find something like that, that would be good too. Those are all things to think about for the next time.
Yeah.
Elaine, would you like to submit what you just mentioned? At the next meeting?
Documentation necessary, what we want to do. Do you have good ideas? I think that...
Are you on the committee too, right? Yes. Good, very good.
The reason for it to be is to give factual, actual history. But as a social worker, I think oral histories, personal histories are very valuable and very pleasant to read, and so it presents well with the people who might be interested in the legacy of
Has there been any change since the demise of the flats? Those are issues that need to be addressed if they're talking in terms of long range of a world-class community, whatever that happens to be.
I think one thing we can think about is the impact that the flats had on the city of Benton Harbor. The results of changeover.
I'd like to know more about the origins in terms of who were the first residents down there, and how did it change as population began to change.
You'd have to look at records to see that.
Sorry, what the next meeting?
You would have
But I got to run now. You can get in the house, and I need to go on
This is us, this is our thing now, together. I'm not going to give you directions or instructions, you giving me directions and instructions. Okay, so whatever you want this to become. I suppose the vision that I see, and you could figure that out on your own too, but it's not just the information, but the second part for me is really, really important, the inspiration part. Because when we have all gone past this stage, the kids in Benton Harbor need to know that there were people here that made it despite what anybody else said, despite the hard times. They need inspiring stories that they can point to. That to me is the most important part of this whole project. And I hope that, that is something that we got started here today. So
This is a map of Benton Harbor at the time of the flats. This is a list of the participants in the program. This brochure explains the purpose of the flats organization. The other side explains the history. This is a list of the officers of the Economic and Community Development Corporation. This is a program for the meeting of this is a program for the meeting.